These 5 books were the books that got me up off my ass, helped me start a blog, get over my fear of judgment from others, helped me move my ass to Korea alone. Before I read these books, I was literally working a 9-to-5 job that I couldn't even stand to go to anymore. I was so stuck, like I had no idea what to do with my life after university. What's up, YouTube? How are you today? Today I'm going to talk to you guys about 5 books that have completely shifted my mindset, helped me in my journey of personal growth. Just 1 year ago, I was literally sitting on my bedroom floor, like so over my life. I was so stuck, like I had no idea what to do with my life after university. I was anxious all the time, and I was taking that out by drinking and just like doing things that were not propelling me forward. So I want to share with you the top 5 books that completely changed my mindset and got me to where I am now. That sounds like it's something that's going to interest you at all, then keep on watching. Don't forget to like the video and give it a big thumbs up, and don't forget to hit subscribe. Now let's get started. Throughout this whole journey of personal development, I know it's super easy to make fun of, but you know what? There is absolutely nothing wrong with wanting to better yourself and going after your dreams. It's a lot harder than people think, and you need help from people. Once I started getting into personal development, I started listening to a lot of different podcasts. I started reading a lot of books. In 1 year, I read 18 books. When you say it out loud, it doesn't sound like a lot, but I was reading like roughly 1.5 books a month, which I'm going from reading literally 0. And we are going to start with number 1. It is my OG. I have talked about this book so much, and this is The Success Principles by Jack Canfield. When you were younger and you would literally sit in your room and bawl reading the Chicken Soup for the Soul book, those were crazy tearjerkers. This is the same author, Jack Canfield, and he is like here with like Tony Robbins when it comes to personal development. Like, it is his shit. He knows what he's talking about. This book completely changed my mindset. It was the very first book I ever read. This one was the one that I think changed my perspective the most, just because it was the first one and I actually couldn't believe that I was responsible for my own life, and that's kind of what the whole book's about. I really like this book because it outlines steps for you to take moving forward, because if you're like me and you're on your journey of personal development and everyone's telling you to like gain clarity and you're like, what does that even mean? Like, I don't even know what gaining clarity means. I need someone to like lay out step for step for me. So this book does a really good job at laying out steps for you to take. Number 2, You Are a Badass by Jen Sincero. I don't know how to say her last name, but that's beside the point. And this book was the book that actually made me take action. I always wanted to start a blog, but was obviously just so many reasons flooding in my head as to why I couldn't, until I read this book. It really made me believe that I can do exactly what I want to do, and the only thing that's stopping me is myself. It really helped me get over my fear of what other people were thinking about me, which is a big fear. A lot of us have it, and it's a hard thing to get rid of, but this book did such a good job at actually forcing me to take action. The moment I finished the book, I was like, now that I know what I know, there's no way that I can't take action. Like, I would just feel like guilty. The most important part is taking action. A lot of people like forget about that part, including myself. I wrote a blog and I didn't share it with anyone until 3 months have gone by. I had over a dozen blog posts written and I could not launch it. I could not get myself to launch it until I read this book. Now I'm literally sharing like the craziest things about my life and like the personal journey that I've been through with strangers on the internet, and I don't even care anymore. Number 3, The Wisdom of Groundhog Day by Paul Hannum. I don't know if you guys know the movie with Bill Murray where he's the weather reporter. He's some big shot news reporter, comes into a really small, secluded rural town thinking he's hot shit, hates everyone there, looks down on everyone, and then all of a sudden he wakes up and he's living the same day over and over again. This book is based off that movie. Has taught me all about perspective. It's taught me a lot about labels, like labeling things good and bad, and everything is about your perspective. And by the end of the movie, he's living the same day over and over, but he starts to find joy in like the smallest things. And then if I just go out and start labeling things good and bad, those things are always going to be good or bad. But in reality, they're just like there. Mean anything until you put an interpretation behind, because you have some emotional attachment to it. This book really helped me look at things from like a new light and realize that I am in control of the way I look at every single situation. Number 4, Everything is Figureoutable by Marie Forleo. Love this book. I first heard of Marie Forleo when I started listening to Ed Mylett's podcast. It is so rare that the moment I listen to a guest speaker or read one article about someone that I immediately feel connected with them. I listened to like half the podcast that she was featured in, and I immediately wanted to buy her book. So I ordered it off Amazon. This girl has just such a crazy life story, and I really like how she didn't start getting into her personal development journey until she was a little bit older. She started a career in professional dance in her like late 30s, which is just like so crazy, and it really goes to show you that you can literally do whatever you want at whatever time, and the only thing stopping you is yourself. She makes personal development fun. She just doesn't take things too seriously. Like, she swears in her book. She has a really good sense of humor the way that she writes. I really like when authors have fun with personal development and make light of like the situations, and they're not always so serious all the time, because that's just boring. Coming in at number 5, A New Earth, Awakening to Your Life's Purpose by Eckhart Tolle. So you guys might have heard of him a little bit before if you're into Oprah at all, or you listen to Oprah's podcast. This book, crazy. Literally, it's still hard for me to wrap my head around, but it completely blew my mind. So if you guys have a meditation practice at all, or you're into meditation, this book really taught me that I am not my thoughts. Every single thought that goes through my head and that I think is like curated from the way I've been raised and the way society makes me think things. It's not who I truly am, and it really teaches you to step back from your ego. So your ego is that person inside of you that's kind of living in autopilot, that reacts to everything super angrily, and your authentic self is the person kind of looks at life as a mirror, and people come into your life to teach you lessons, and if you're triggered by something, then it has absolutely everything to do with you and nothing to do with the situation that's actually triggering you. A super big mind. Basically, the moment you do realize that you are not your thought, that is supposed to be when you start your awakening. This book really talks a lot about the ego and how to disassociate yourself with the ego. I will say, maybe don't make this like your first book, because you might not understand it. I still found myself like rereading lines and paragraphs, like completely wrap my head around it, because it's intense, but I think it is an absolute must read. And if you don't want to start out with the book, he does a huge podcast session with Oprah that's amazing, that I'll link below. So that is it. Those are the 5 books that I think have made the most impact in my life. If I was going to start anywhere in my personal development journey, it would be with these 5 books. These 5 books were the books that got me up off my ass, helped me start a blog, get over my fear of judgment from others, helped me move my ass to Korea alone. They've just really taught me that I can absolutely do anything I want. Before I read these books, I was literally working a 9-to-5 job that I couldn't even stand to go to anymore. It wasn't the job, it wasn't the people that I was working with. I actually was really lucky with who I was working with and everything. It was just the fact that I knew that I should be doing more than just sitting in that cubicle. Didn't know where to start, and these 5 books were the books that made me take action and actually change my life. If you made it all the way to the end, thank you so much for watching. You have no idea how much I appreciate you. If you did like this video, don't forget to give it a big thumbs up and hit subscribe. Have a beautiful day, and I will see you in the next video.